Did you know that the song Silent Night was first composed on the guitar because the church organ broke just in time for Christmas and they needed some music? I'm sure at that moment they didn't realize what an incredibly popular and beautiful song Silent Night would become the world over. And this is a great example of seeing possibilities even in times of struggle. So consider that as we gather for the holidays, you might be getting together with people, maybe your family of origin or old friends, people who knew you from a long time ago, or maybe they're people who are newer in your life who push your buttons. Maybe the same old routines happen over and over again, and you really want to have a lovely holiday experience, but you know deep down that that's usually not what happens. Well, I'm about to show you three great power moves to help you make things go a new direction. So, as we remember what happened with the song Silent Night and you learn these power moves, remember that it's all about creating possibilities. That when you react to situations in a different way, that there are new possibilities open up. Other people are going to shift how they respond. And even if they don't, you're changing the dynamics of the situation. So, this is about you really owning your role in things and discovering how many choices you really do have. The very first power move is that if somebody does something that starts to push your buttons, the first thing you're going to do is imagine floating up above the situation and just seeing it from that outside point of view, like you're watching a TV show about somebody else that has nothing to do with you. When you do this, you might find it helpful to imagine that the TV show is a silly cartoon. And what this does is it helps you get out of any defensiveness you might be feeling. And that makes it easier to be curious and learn from the situation. The second power move is for you to really notice what's going on with the other people. What kind of pain might they be in, emotional or physical, that you might not have been aware of? So, if you just, as you float up above the situation, imagine stepping into their shoes. And when you do this, it's not about whether they're right or wrong. And it doesn't, and this isn't about defending you. When you step into their shoes, you're just simply being curious about how are they looking at things? What is making them react this way? What do they genuinely want and need? Are they in some kind of emotional pain? Are they needing some kind of validation? And as you get curious with this, it'll be easier for you to see some choices in terms of how to respond. Which brings me to the third power move, which is to pause until you can see your choices of how to respond. And so to pause, you can simply take some deep breaths and stay in that curiosity of that situation, watching it like a movie and floating up above it. And as you do, trust that some choices will appear. And one of these choices can be to simply not respond. Sometimes that's the best thing to do. Imagine that a fleck of dust just drifts away and that whatever happened could be just like that, and you can just move on to other things. So, that can be one response that may be useful for you. Another response that you may be able to choose is when you see what's going on with that other person, that you can look for how can you graciously give them what they need. And can you do that in a way that doesn't hurt you, but that just gives them whatever they need to feel better or safe or secure or appreciated by you? And when you do this, you want to imagine that you have so much confidence and security in you that you have enough to share, you have enough to give away. So, what would happen if that could really be true? That you can take that position of knowing you're already totally okay and see their pain and suffering and simply find a way to ease that for them. So, for example, let's say that a family member always accuses you of not wrapping presents properly. I know somebody who this actually happens to in his family. So let's say somebody accuses you of not wrapping the presents properly, and it's a whole deal. Well, often when people are judging others, they're insecure about themselves and they're using that judgment to feel better about themselves. So, what could happen is you can find a way to compliment and appreciate them and maybe have a sense of humor about the situation. You want at least three creative options. So, the third option can be up to you, but whatever you choose, you want to make sure that you're very outcome oriented. So what it means to be outcome oriented is that you're very clear about what do you want to happen. Are you wanting to have an enjoyable time? Are you wanting to pick a fight with somebody or join them in a fight because you need to clear the air or you need to move through something? Is somebody being a bully and a boundary needs to be set? So there are many different outcomes you might have. And regardless of what it is, you want to decide what really matters to you. You want to be acting from that place. That is very different from acting from a place of anger or reaction, if that makes sense. So when we float up above the experience and see it like a cartoon, and we step into the other person's world to see where they're coming from. And we also focus on what outcome we want. It gives us a lot of information about what would be a useful response to what's happening. So, to review, we've got three power moves. The first one is float up above the experience, and so that you're watching it as if it has nothing to do with you. The second one is to step into the other person's model of the world and see what they are really wanting and needing. And this gives you amazing insight into how to respond in a useful way. And the third one is to make sure you have three creative options for responding and that you're clear about what outcome you have when you're choosing the response that you take. So, to circle back to Silent Night, if we use that example, there's so many things in life that we can't predict. Human interactions are very complex. And you want to trust that as you're changing your response, it's at least moving the agenda forward. Things are changing. It may take some experimenting, it may take some feedback to see what works better for you, but it feels really good to be on that path of discovery, that you're tinkering with how these relationships unfold so that eventually you'll have them in a better direction. Wishing you a very, very happy holiday and a happy new year. And if you'd like to learn more, you can click on the link in my bio and find out more about how hypnosis training can help you break out of old habits and create the life you really want. Happy holidays.